Hey everybody, Anna Krueger here, and we are so excited you are here with us today. And I want to know who's here. Type in the chat box because I cannot see you. So type in the chat box, tell us your name, where you're from, and what your role is. And I would love to know, what do you want to get out of today's webinar? So we have Ryan with us. I'm going to introduce him in a second. He's awesome. And Ryan has set aside this afternoon to talk with us about how he increased his set to show ratio 15% in 1 month. And think about the impact if you had 15% more of your appointments actually show up. I hear a lot of people in the ISA world talk about, I need more contacts, I need more contacts. And while that may be true, I often think about it, what if you could get more for the contacts you already have? Let's work smarter, right? Not harder. So
yeah, exactly.
We're going to talk about that today. So Ryan, I am a huge fan of yours. Tell everybody who doesn't know you where you're from, what team you're with, how many units you guys closed last year and your goal for this year, and a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, of course. Well, my name is Ryan Krueger. I am the VP of Inside Sales for our team, the Castillo Group, here in San Antonio, Texas, home of the San Antonio Spurs. So just a little bit of background on us. In 2018, we sold 204 homes. We had $43 million in volume with 1.3 million in GCI. Our public goal for 2019 is 300 units with 60 million in volume with 1.8 million in GCI.
Awesome. No small feat there. And I have to say, and actually, Ryan, I don't know if you and I have even talked about this, but I met Mariana and Zach back, gosh, it was maybe 2014. We were at family reunion and they had not yet started the team. And so to know what they've accomplished in such a short period of time is really, really amazing.
Yeah,
so tell me, what do you think's the secret? I didn't tell you I was going to ask you this. I'm putting you on the spot. But knowing that before they started the team and then hearing the volume, hearing the number of units they're closing, you're on the team. What do you think that magic thing is that's helped them grow? Because they've grown so quickly and they're always getting fantastic reviews. I see it online all the time. So what do you think that is?
Yeah, well, appreciate that. Definitely want to first acknowledge I wouldn't have been here without, my team leaders and without my team. I think, the minute you meet Zach and Mariana, you realize how passionate they are about real estate. And then they know what it takes to get the job done. And that's just really grinding day to day, getting on the phone and being uncomfortable, talking to just lots of people and hiring the right people. You realize right when you get into the business that, hey, it's a lot, it's not as easy as everybody thinks it is. And I think that's a big stereotype when getting into real estate. A lot of people think it's easy. And unfortunately, that's how we have a lot of high turnover within the business. So they realize, getting into it, it took a lot. You have to hire the right people and surround yourself with like-minded individuals. So following the necessary steps to finding talent and then really giving them opportunity whenever they come on board with the team to make sure that, whenever somebody gets on the Castillo Group, they see themselves on the team for a very long time and never leaving. Because the way we look at it is we want everybody's bubble to grow as big, as they can, and their vision and their goals to be as big as they can and still be within, the team. And that's we have that 10-year plan of where we want to be. And we know that we will be the #1 team in San Antonio. It's just a matter of time. And so we just need to hire the right people who are adapt and buy into that vision.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's no easy process. It is a painstaking process to hire people sometimes because it takes so much work and effort, yet it is so worth it because then you end up with the right people on the bus and you go faster together. So it's one of those slow down to speed up things to make sure you've got the right person on the bus. So actually in this vein, and then we will get to setting appointments in just a second.
Yeah.
What would you say are the key elements? The audience here, most of them have interest in ISAs, inside sales agents. You work with ISAs on your team. You are an ISA on your team, a really good one. What would you say are some of the key things people should look at if they're considering hiring an ISA specifically?
Yeah, so definitely some things to consider is being able to go, and not work the normal 8 to 5 shift. I think that's one of the biggest things that I've seen. Somebody that knows, hey, when I put a goal in front of you and I say I want to make, 50,000, 60,000, let's break that down to how we can actually get you there. And you know what it's going to take to get you there. So if you're at, 5 o'clock rolls around and you're not hitting the numbers that you need to hit day to day, I'm willing to stay till 6, 7 o'clock, to make those extra calls, to make up for what I need to make up to hit those goals. So definitely flexibility in your schedule, being able to talk to people. I mean, it's a sales job at the end of the day. You're the first person that a lot of these leads come into contact with. So you're definitely selling your team, and you want to make sure you have great knowledge of your team, because ultimately you're selling them, you're selling yourself, why you want to work with us. And so just somebody who really adapts and buys into the team mission, vision, our values, and what it is that we do on a day-to-day basis. So definitely flexibility in the schedule, buys into the team, somebody that is not afraid to call people, call people that they've never talked to before.
Right.
So, it's one of those things that, they're willing to do whatever it takes, to get the job done and to be successful in this industry, because it is tough.
It is tough. And I like how you said they're willing to do what it takes. And you said something, and it was kind of folded up in the other words, and I'm going to repeat it in case people missed it.
Yes.
But you referenced tracking and making sure you're hitting the numbers you need to hit to achieve your personal goal. Mm-hmm. And that's actually part of how we identified for you the need to increase set to health. So let's talk real quick about what do people need to be tracking. Because if we're not tracking, we won't even know what conversion rates we need to work on. We discovered that from your own tracking, that was, you came to me and said, we need to work on our set to held, and you figured that out yourself from your tracking. So tell everybody what you track, and I'll fill in anything additional if there is anything.
Yeah, of course. So it's not just me. I have to, make sure I throw a shout out to my team. We definitely have all of our team buys into tracking. First of all, we know we're big number oriented, and that starts with Zach. And we have Erica here on our team who, makes sure she gets all of the numbers taken care of on a weekly basis. So we track time on task, our dialer time. We track the amount of dials we hit, and per source too. So not just the overall dials, but how many dials we're hitting per source.
So like how many FSBO dials, how many expired dials, how many, is that what you mean?
Yes, correct. So we go, down to that. We're also hitting how many contacts we need to hit to result in, the nurtures and the appointments. And we know, and some of you guys that don't know who are on this webinar, national average, we want to hit about 20 contacts, 4 nurtures, 1 appointment. And
let's say that again, 20 contacts,
4 nurtures, and 1 appointment.
Yeah.
And for those of you who think, hey, I'm going to hire an ISA and I'm going to expect that the first month,
no.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. So just, coaching to where we can get that conversion rate up, because it may be 40 contacts at the very beginning before an appointment. And, with that coaching, with scripting and taking the time to, coach people that you hire and bring on to get that conversion rate lower is very key. So we track contacts, appointments, nurtures, even dial time.
Yeah, that's big. And I'll re-say that, and everybody just jot this down. These are the key magic metrics. And I would say tracking dial time is extra. I don't even usually hear a lot of people that track that, which is awesome, because I think that could give a peek into how efficient are you? How, if you're working 8 hours, how much dial time did you have? That would be a great metric. So the core essentials are dials, contacts, and you want a 12% or higher dial to contact ratio. And I'm telling you guys what you want simply because if you don't know, how will you know if you're on pace or not to be average or above average? I hope you all want to be above average. So for dial to contact, that's really not a reflection of skill. It's more a reflection of, do I have a good list that I'm calling? And is this a good time of day to be calling? Dials really tell us nothing about skill. It's more a strategy. So dial to contact, you want it to be 12% or higher. Contact to set, you want 5% or higher. That will depend on lead source. So if you're calling circle, like 2% is good, right?
Yes.
Would you agree, Ryan? 2% circle is pretty good?
Yeah, and I think it's good though, new ISA starting in the business too, to get that down, because after you get that down, everything else is easier.
Yeah. So that 5% contact to set, it'll vary depending on your lead source. So just hold that loosely. And that's where we can help you through coaching to know for what you're doing, customize that for your team. So we have dial to contact, contact to set. Set to held should be 70%. And that's where we're going to spend our time today, because we're going to talk about how we got you there, Ryan. So set to held, 70%. Held to signed, so meaning the appointment kept and they hired us, 80%. And then from hired, signed, whatever you want to call it, to closed, 80%. So that's how in coaching, which is how Ryan and I know each other, that's how in coaching we can start figuring out, okay, there's a lot of things we could talk about. Let's just look at your numbers. What are your conversions? And that will tell us the most strategic thing that we could talk about instead of just any random topic. So Ryan, how long have you been in the ISA MAPS coaching program? I was trying to figure that out before the call of how long we've worked together in there.
Yeah, so we've worked about 13 months, just coming up in 13 months. So definitely enjoy my time with you and on our week calls. So I wouldn't have been able to do the success, without you, because I got into it right around this time last year, and I hit 284 appointments from this time all the way to the end of the year, and that's the most appointments I've ever booked. And it was just a lot with interacting with you, how to close, and just what the MAPS coaching program provides as far as scripting is really key that I can pass on to the new people we hire, new agents that we hire, right, that are always trying to get that edge with other agents.
Yeah. And that's what a lot of people use the program for, is they'll put the person on the coaching calls, and I'll talk about the program real quick, and then we'll get back to setting appointments. But the program is, there's weekly webinars that go over techniques for closing, systems. We cover really anything that it relates to lead gen or lead conversion. We cover on these weekly 1-hour webinars. Then you also get 2 one-on-one coaching calls a month. And that's where you and I have talked the most. And that's, you can choose who goes on to those coaching calls. A lot of teams will choose someone like Ryan, the lead ISA, VP of sales, for the exact reason you just described, is we can pour into you, and then you can turn around and pour into your team, and everyone gets better. I know every week it seems like we're talking about share this with your team, and an action item has something to do with talk about this topic with your team in the next 2 weeks. Deal? Got it. So Hannah, if you could put up on the slide real quick, Hannah's our awesome moderator today, about the program. I know a lot of people here have asked me individually, what's this program? If you could put that up on the slide, that would be super helpful. Okay, I'm reading the chat box real quick. Perfect. Yeah, 20 contacts, 4 nurtures, 1 appointment. Welcome, Zane, to the world of real estate. Looks like your new ISA, so welcome. All right, Ryan, so let's get into the nitty gritty. So when we discovered that your set to held wasn't where we wanted it to be, that was an obvious strategy move. Even if you didn't increase contacts, we knew that if you simply increased what you squeezed from your contacts, getting them to actually keep, you would make more money, the team would make more money. So let's go through some strategies. If someone's listening to this call, and they're like, okay, I am in that spot. My set to held is not what I want. What would you say worked for you that they could do?
Yeah, so I wish it was one answer that was just easy. But there's several things that I think we really focus on, that we brainstormed in our conversation, and the main thing is motivation and pre-qual.
Yes.
An appointment. So we really focused in on that, and what I did after listening to the MAPS coaching webinars with you and brainstorming with you is we really honed in on the 4 basic parts of the conversation, and that's starting with motivation. So basically, if I were to have the conversation, I'd want to really dig in deep to what has you wanting to make a move, and so what sparked your interest. Tell me a little bit about that home that you're wanting, and tell me a little bit more about that, and then specifically what's important about that, using their words in it. Repeating and affirming, making sure we're on the same page. And then, that transition easy into the pre-qual part, which was very hard for us to get. It's very awkward when you're wanting to find out, hey, how much money do you have? What's your credit score like? Those questions, turn people off, and so we always talked about buyers, especially first-time home buyers, are like scared deer. Anything you say that's like, hey, sign paperwork, credit score, save money, they get scared and turned off. Yeah. So we want to make sure the flow of the conversation is easy enough and leads into those little bit serious questions that we need to know before we book an appointment and bring them in, and make sure that that's a qualified appointment for all our agents to take their time and meet with.
Yeah, and I'm going to interrupt you 1 second real quick, just because we have a question in the chat box. What are the 4 basic parts? And so let's list them out real quick. And then Ryan, maybe even you and I can demonstrate what it would sound like on a real call, because I think that'll give people what they need to see how this is executed. So what are the 4 basic parts, Ryan?
Yeah, so number 1 is motivation. Number 2 is pre-qual. Number 3, you want to give them the next step. And number 4, you want to set a clear follow-up time. So,
yay! Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
and I want to add real quick, and Ryan, you were breaking up a little, so I'm going to repeat it just in case it was breaking up for the webinar. It's motivation, number 1. You always talk about motivation first, because if someone is not motivated, why bother pre-qualifying them? It's a waste of time, right? It's like if I said,
motivation.
Yeah, it's like if I said to you, I don't live near a lake and I hate the water, and you were like, great, I have a boat to sell you. How much money do you want to spend on a boat? I just said I don't care. So in a funny way, that's an example of you got to make sure they're even motivated before you waste your time or their time. So number 1 is motivation. And the transition statement that you were just referencing, Ryan, is great. Let's see what we need to do to make that happen. For those of you taking notes, make a little note that usually if you're doing a great job with motivation, you're in that section for about 3 minutes. Not real long. It can feel long when you're doing it sometimes, but it's really usually about 3 minutes. And that, I look at it kind of like if I'm, pulling back a slingshot, I'm pulling it back, creating some tension. But because I'm pulling it backwards and creating tension, when I let go, it goes far. That's how I view motivation. It is slowing down the conversation, but ultimately it's going to launch us into some results once we have it. So motivation, your transition is great. Let's see what we need to do to make that happen. That sets us up to very easily now ask pre-qual questions without them saying, why are you asking me these questions? Because I just said, well, great, let's see what we need to do to make it happen. Now there's context for why do you, what's your price range? Where do you want to be? All that stuff. Step number 3 is your next step is, so you end every call with giving them a next step. Your next step is to talk to the lender. In this situation, you might say your next step is to meet with us, and that's setting an appointment. And then the 4th element is to give it a deadline. So your next step is to meet with us. Let me put you on hold and check the calendar to pick a time. Or your next step is to talk to a lender. When will you do that, Ryan? And you get an agreement. So motivation, let's see what we need to do to make it happen. Pre-qual, next step, deadline, every single time. So thank you, Ryan. I just kind of hijacked. So if someone's thinking, how do I dig into motivation? Maybe they haven't really had a training on that before. Why don't we role play that real quick?
Yeah, let's go ahead and
you down?
I'm down.
All right, cool. All right. So you're really good at this. Do you want to be the agent or do you want to be the client?
Yeah, we can go in. I can be the agent, and basically you can, be my client. So basically, I, start off and saying, "Hey, Anna, so you've shown interest, obviously, in buying a home. So, what sparked your interest to start looking for a home?"
Well, I'm kind of on the fence, but I've been thinking about downsizing for a while.
Fantastic. Well, tell me a little bit more about why downsizing would be important to you.
Well, right now I live in about a 2,000 square foot house, which isn't huge. Yet I now live in the house by myself, and it's just a lot of upkeep. I have about 1 acre of land, and I frequently think about the money and time I could save if I had a smaller house.
Okay, so it sounds to me like you're thinking about saving some money and time that you're spending in your house, and you're wanting to, get into the new home. So tell me a little bit more about that and why that's important to you, and what would doing that home do for you?
Well, if I had more time and money, I'd love to travel. It's not something I have to do. It's more of a quality of life issue where, if I could travel, have a little bit more spending money, it would give me more flexibility to, go see family, go on some vacations I want to go on, and not have the pressure of having to keep up this house. It's really too big for what I need.
Yeah, definitely. Well,
and I'll pause you there. Sorry, you're doing great. I'm just going to pause because of time. I want everyone to notice Ryan has not asked me what type of house I want, how many bedrooms, nothing. And that's exactly what he should be doing. He's completely focusing on my motivation and my emotional reason. After that is when you get into all the logical stuff. So Ryan, you did a great job. That is huge in getting the appointment to stick, because at the end of a call, he could now remind me, hey, Anna, we're going to get together, but remember, we're really getting together to help you downsize so you can travel and not have the pressure of this large home and everything it demands. So that's part of the magic, is get their motivation on the front end, and you remind them all throughout the call, and especially at the end when you set the appointment. That's what you leave with is, hey, we're going to get together on Saturday. Remember, we're ultimately getting together so you can downsize, travel, all the good stuff. So
yeah, we want to repeat and affirm exactly what they're saying too, to make sure that they understand, hey, we're on the same page and we're just here to help. We're trying to make sure that you can accomplish that goal of yours. So basically, after repeating and affirming, that's when we love to say, fantastic, we're so excited to be in a position to help you out. So let's see what we can do to make that happen. And I like to go into, how long have you been wanting to buy this home? Because I found out that it really flows easily into, so, how long have you been, saving up for this purchase? If they say, I've been wanting to buy for 5 years, awesome. So, I'm guessing you've been saving up some money for this home that you're wanting to buy, so it's a real easy transition. Fantastic. And then that's when you can get into, awesome, ballpark, what's that credit score looking like? And then you get into that. And then so the next step would be, for us, it's a follow-up. Hey, we're gaining yardage with that client. Let me go ahead and follow up with them, set them up on a customized home search. And then, when we set that expectation of, hey, you fall out of that 4 to 6 months, 6-month window for when we need to bring you into the office. Let me go ahead, set up a home search for you, follow up in about a month. When I call you back, on a certain day, I'd love to invite you into our office. That way you can meet with that buyer agent. So they already know ahead, hey, I'm going to be meeting with a buyer agent, not with me too. That's a big thing with ISA. They already know what to expect whenever that time comes.
Yeah. And that is key, is to bring up early that you're not meeting with me, you're meeting with an agent. So I'm glad you pointed that out. You said a phrase, and I know what you mean. If people are not in our program, they might think, what? So I want you to explain, what is gaining yardage? You said we just gained yardage with the client.
Yeah, I love this term. So it's something that, some of the ISAs out there, some agents out there may have a tough day of like, hey man, I didn't book any appointments. I don't feel as good. But you have to think of it as, how many clients did I gain yardage with, to where I know that the next time I call them, I'm going to book that appointment. And you know this, and a lot of agents and ISAs on this call probably know this. You may have one day where you don't book any appointments, but then one day where you book like 4, and it really is good. Obviously you want to have consistency across every day, but some days like that are going to happen. And so gaining yardage, really digging in deeper on that motivation, their timeline, what it is that they're looking for, and just reiterating back to their motivation every time you're talking to them. So you're gaining yardage, you're gaining trust, you're building that rapport with them, and that's really key. To those conversations, to where you're going to set the appointment next time around.
Yeah. And where that term came from too is it was during football season, which I'm more of a basketball fan, so I'm pretty happy right now with March Madness, just saying. But we know that in football, there's one ball in a game, right? But in our world, if we think of being an ISA or an agent, I mean, I don't care if you're not an ISA, if you're an agent, you still are in this lead generation game, right? We get to have as many balls on the field as we want in the game, in our game of football, right? And I want to get as many different people or balls on the field as I possibly can. And think about it. If a football game, if you did have 20 balls on the field, it'd be pretty cool to have some at the 50-yard line, some at the 40-yard line, some at the 30-yard line, because then every day, if you just bump one more, just a little bit, you'll get a touchdown and move everybody up, and then bump one more into the end zone and move some more people up. And so the name of the game with lead gen and lead conversion is every day, add some people to the field, get more people into that football game. And every day, your job is to move people closer to the end zone. And you do that a little bit every day, and you become a consistent appointment center. So that's the idea of gaining yardage. We talk about that a lot in the ISA program, and it helps with mindset. Because you can have a day where it's like, geez, I worked for 8 hours and I got one person to say yes to me. It's kind of funny if you think about it, right? Like, that's a successful day. One person said yes to you. Yet it reframes our whole thinking and mindset if we think of it like, well, I got one touchdown today, one appointment, and I moved 4 people up, total of 40 yards. I got 4 people to move up 10 yards. That's awesome. And so that's where putting people, if they're further out, putting them on an e-alert, like you said, you know, if they're outside the 4 to 6 month window, that's great. Speaking of windows, Ryan, what is the magic window to set an appointment within? So if I'm talking to you today, I need to get you in by when to increase my show rate?
48 hours. So what I brainstormed with you is a 48-hour rule. And, you know, obviously, perfect world scenario, we want to book that appointment within 48 hours. I know some ISAs are probably on this call like, man, I wish that would happen to me a lot more often. So just working towards that, scripting, and sometimes gaining that yardage until you feel comfortable setting that appointment. Like, hey, you know, let me just follow up with you next Monday so that way we can set that appointment for, you know, that next Wednesday, you know, rather than setting it early and everything like that and just not following up. The big part is one of our ISAs on our team says all the money is in the follow-up. So definitely making sure that we have that process in place if we do book an appointment outside of the 48-hour, and we still have a 48-hour rule, even though we don't book it within 48 hours, we still have a 48-hour touch. So we're touching base, checking in. How are you doing? Any questions? Are you receiving those calls I'm sending you? Just to make sure that appointment is stickier.
Yeah, it's a great point. I learned that the hard way when I was an ISA, because I started having all these no-shows, and I had an appointment tracker that said, what date did I set it? And then what day is the appointment supposed to occur? And I noticed a pattern that anyone more than 48 hours out, they no-showed. It didn't matter if I had a stellar conversation, they no-showed. And so, Ryan, let's help people think through if they have to set it more than 48 hours out. Maybe it's Friday and the people are out of town this weekend. And so Monday, that's 72 hours, you know. So let's talk through what are some of the touch points people can have to have an excuse to call the lead, because you don't want to keep saying, hey, how's it going? Are you okay? Hey, you still coming in? So what could you do to call people in between?
Yeah, of course. Definitely have a 48-hour rule. You know, anywhere from 25 to 48 hours away. You know, the day of the booking, we definitely want to send a confirmation email, you know, calendar invite, letting them know, hey, I'm putting this permanently in our agent's calendar, which means we're going to be turning away anybody who wants that time slot, you know, to let them know, hey, you know, this is like a doctor's office visit. You know, we're following our schedule to a T, and we have other appointments here, so our time is valuable. You know, the day after booking, we do what's called a 24-hour rule from an introductory call from our agent. And so now this is really important because this is a stat that we've seen about 60 to 70% of our agents that reach out actually get in contact with that client that they're supposed to meet with. Out of that 60 to 70% contact, 90% of them show up. So that's basically huge. Like saying, you know, hey, my agent's going to call you within 24 hours just to introduce themselves. What this also does is a secondary prequel. Now, they're not going to take forever, you know, pre-qualing, making sure like as if they don't have trust in the ISA. It's just kind of reassurance. Hey, Ryan was letting me know, you know, you're looking for a home in this because you're trying to get closer to your daughter. You know, you have this much saved. You know, your credit's looking great. I'm so excited to meet with you and share it with you a little bit more about some of the homes that I know about in that area. You know, real quick, introduce, you know, they know that it's a real agent going to meet them. And so because of that, it's really helped our show rate. So 24 hours after the ISA books, you know, our ISAs are putting it on the agent's calendar, you know, hey, to remind them, hey, call this person. Further than that, you know, what I like to do is text, you know, every 48 hours. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Brian, when you are talking to the lead, do you tell them an agent will call you tomorrow? Do you introduce the agent? Because all that can impact stick ratio as well. So how do you work that on your team?
Yeah, definitely. And that's at the very beginning of the conversation. You know, it's really important to let the client know, hey, you're not meeting with me. You know, this is my job title, but I'm setting you up with an expert, you know, in the area of town that you're looking for. Even if they're not an expert, you know, you definitely want to sell your team. That's part of it. And it's really awesome to hear what they have to say. Oh yeah, that'd be great. I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah, they're going to call you within 24 hours, introduce themselves and let you know they're very excited to meet with you. And so when we do that, like I said, I mean, it's basically like, if they get in contact, it's a for sure thing because they're making that contact, they're making that emotional type appeal to them. And they don't want to let them down, by not showing up again.
Yeah. Do you give the lead the agent's phone number so they know if you see this number, this is, Mariana calling you, or how do you set that up?
Yeah. So what we do to address that is if they ask for it, we definitely do. What we do is the agent's phone number is in the confirmation email and the calendar invite that we're sending to them, along with the address, the location that we meet. So those are two key points. And what we're also doing that we found out is, we're sending our address in 3 different locations and the time. So we're following up in a confirmation email, a calendar invite coming from the agent, not from the ISA. That's also very key.
That's huge.
The calendar invite is coming from the agent. So that way they're not saying like, who is Zach Castillo?
Right. Right.
I just spoke with Brian. And then they're getting that call from him, and from our agents. And they're also getting a follow-up text. Hey, it was great speaking with you. And just a little reminder, Zach's going to be on the lookout for Zach and those emails.
Perfect. So a systems question that people are probably wondering, because this comes up a lot, is does the ISA have access to the agent's calendar? You just mentioned that the invite comes from the agent, but is it really you in Zach's calendar putting it in there? Or is it like, what's that system? How's that work? Because people are going to want to know about this.
Yeah, great question. So we do have ISAs have access to all the agents' calendars. So it comes with some trust.
There you go.
Definitely also some accountability on the agent portion, on the agent side, right? To making sure that they're updating their calendar. If something pops up, a showing, that they're taking their appointment availability slot away so that the ISAs don't book any appointments during that time slot.
I feel like we should repeat that 12 times. Keep going. But agents, you need to give your ISAs access to your calendar. Okay, keep going.
Yeah, so basically that way we can go into their appointment slot that's already highlighted. What we do is we highlight them in yellow. So that way it stands out. The ISAs know they have their calendar up for the next agent in rotation. You want to know the next agent in rotation, who that is, so that way you have no mix-up. And then you put it in their calendar, make sure you have that time slot. And we're using the commit script. Hey, are you committed to this time, Tuesday, 2 o'clock? And is there anything that would prevent you from committing to that time? Just verbiage as well thrown in there. But yes, we do have access to all the agents' calendars.
Yeah, that's huge. And I can say from being an ISA, it helps when you can see the blocks, because a key to setting an appointment that shows up is to use verbiage like, let me put you on hold so I can check the calendar. And everybody write down 35 minutes into this webinar, we did this script so you can come back and listen to it, because this is a magic script. Every time that I roll this out to a client in the coaching program and they actually use it, they report back to me an increase in set to held within that 2-week period between the coaching calls. It absolutely works. So get ready. So it's going to sound something like, Ryan, let me put you on hold for just a second so I can check the calendar.
Okay. Sounds good.
And what's happening is it's building value. Like, wow, they must be really busy if they have to put me on hold and check the calendar. Now I'm going to come back and say, okay, Ryan, it looks like Mariana can carve out either 2 o'clock today or 4 o'clock tomorrow. Which one of those will you commit to?
You know what? 4 o'clock tomorrow sounds great. That would be better.
Okay. And what I'm going to do, Ryan, is I'm actually going to block off this 4 o'clock spot for you. And what that means is if anyone else calls me today and wants to meet with her tomorrow at 4, I'll turn them away because that spot is yours. With that in mind, can you think of anything that would prevent you from keeping that commitment?
I can't think of anything. I'm off that afternoon, so I should be great to go.
Perfect. And then done. Now, if Ryan had said, and let's role play an alternate scenario of maybe picking up the kids from school, because that's a common one. So Ryan, can you think of anything that would prevent you from keeping that commitment tomorrow at 4 o'clock?
Anna, actually I have to pick up the kids at about 4:45, 4:30 sometimes. So yeah, that would probably be in the way.
Possibly in the way. Well, I know that you said you really wanted to downsize so that you could travel, and I want to make sure we make this happen for you. With that in mind, who could be a backup person to pick up the kids just in case?
Well, I definitely can let our nanny know that she would have the job to pick up the kids that day.
Okay, great. Do you need to check with her first to be sure, or are you good?
Yeah, I definitely will let her know since we have a commitment, and that way I can make it.
Okay, perfect. So I'll go ahead and put you down in magic marker since you're sure, and we'll see you tomorrow at 4 o'clock. Perfect.
Yeah.
Someone just asked about that script today. So if Ryan had said, "Ooh, I need to check with her first," I would have said, "Okay, Ryan, what I'm going to do is put you down in pencil for 4 o'clock tomorrow. I'm not going to make it 100% for sure until you confirm with the nanny. When will you call me back and let me know that the nanny can take care of the kids?" And set that expectation of he's got to call me. That's part of how you increase show rate. I learned that the people that did not call me back, they were the no-showers anyway.
Yeah.
The ones that did call back, they actually kept. And it really increased the value. There were also times where it'd be like, I'd say, 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock, which one's better? And they'd be like, "Ooh, I don't know." And I'd say, "Well, let me see what I can do. I'm gonna have to put you back on hold and see what we can finagle around here." No. It's fine. You know what? I got it. I'll make it work. And so that putting them on hold script is magic. It is absolutely magic. Anything else to add to that, Ryan?
No, it's great. I was laughing because you definitely see that, and you're definitely right. Don't get discouraged if they don't call you back, because at the end of the day, those are for sure the people that probably won't show up.
Yeah.
Another thing that for those agents who are on the call or ISAs who are like, man, clients are always looking to maybe book an appointment on the weekend. Our agents really are dedicating their weekends to showings, and sometimes our agents are literally like, "I need a day off." So It's very tough. What I'm telling you is, master a script that you can say, "Hey, Mr. and Miss Seller, our agents use their weekends for active clients who are looking to show homes. So when you're an active client, wouldn't you want to be, viewing homes during the weekends? So
Great.
let's go ahead and do the right thing, and let's schedule this time for 6 o'clock on Tuesday. That way we can make sure that when you're, ready to go out and view homes, our agents are delegating the weekend, for you to go out and view the home." And so It's a little bit better to say, hey, we're not just overloading the weekend with tons of consultations. And then sometimes, how the weekends come around. Sometimes they don't show. And for those ISAs, you're not feeling as bad when they don't show on the weekend, right? Rather than, you have your agent go into the office. Our appointments are here, 90% at the office. So it's one of those things that you can throw in there to really kind of take back your time, and the agent's time.
Yeah, and what we see a lot, and honestly, it makes it, I'm not trying to be all melodramatic here, but it breaks my heart, honestly, because I see agents sacrificing just at barely any resistance whatsoever. They'll give up their weekend with their family. And I'm not saying there's not times that we have to sacrifice. That's part of what happens. It's part of real estate sometimes, right? Is we sacrifice in order to take care of the client. But what I don't want to see is the sacrifice after, that won't work for me. Can we do Saturday? Let's push back a little. So what that would look like is, let's role play again. So Ryan, I've got 2 o'clock or 4 o'clock. Which one of those can you commit to?
Saturday would be best. You have some availability on Saturday, Anna?
We actually do not have availability this Saturday, but I have a question for you. What's the challenge with either 2 o'clock today or 4 o'clock tomorrow? Let's see what we can work out.
Well, I work till about 4:30. So, okay. I can't make that time,
Okay. I can completely respect that. So I have 2 ideas for you. We have had clients, if they tell their boss that they're thinking of buying a home, just like if you had a doctor's appointment, they're often that their employer will let them leave a tad early to make that 4 o'clock. Do you think if your employer knew you were thinking about buying a house, he'd work with you and let you leave a little bit early?
I didn't think about that. I'm sure he would.
Okay. Well, how about this? I'm going to pencil you in for tomorrow at 4. How quickly could you check with your boss and see if he'd be okay with that?
I can shoot him a text right now and ask him.
Awesome. Why don't you do it? I'll hang on the phone with you. Hopefully he'll respond quickly and we'll nail down the rest of what we need to talk about.
Yeah, sounds great.
Perfect. You also can offer a lunchtime. So think about it. What Ryan said is typical. I didn't think of it that way. A lot of leads will say that when you offer do you think your boss would let you leave early, just like a doctor's appointment? Or what about lunch break? I don't mind if you bring your lunch, Ryan, and eat here at our office. People do that all the time. So what if we did 12 o'clock? The point is, I'm not just right away sacrificing, yeah, let's do Saturday. When's best for you? The doctor doesn't do that. The lawyer doesn't do that. Why do we do that, right? So get them into the calendar that you want them to be in. And agents, that's part of why it helps us as ISAs. When you block off in your calendar, it's a lot easier to say, they really only have this spot or this spot. Which one can you commit to? It helps us get it to stick when you have it in your calendar. Ryan, anything else to add to that? And then we're going to answer some of the questions in the chat box.
Yeah, no, let's answer some questions. I'm reading some good ones. So
yeah, perfect. So Carrie says, which calendar system do you use? So what have you found works really well?
Yeah, so we just use Google Calendar.
Yeah.
Access. That's big. And making sure that everybody on the team knows, or your ISA knows, you know, these are the time slots. So put appointment slot available and a color that the ISAs can easily pinpoint.
Right. That's really good. Have a system for that. And same thing here. We use at the Haro Group Google Calendars. I've heard of people that use Outlook and it works just the same way. I just don't have experience with it. From coaching, I can tell you the majority of people are using Google Calendar with great success.
So one thing I want to add too is, on a real quick, is our agents don't take appointments anytime basically before 11:30. So ISAs know they cannot book an appointment before 11:30 a.m. because that's their designated lead gen time. We don't sacrifice that for anything.
Yeah, and how many units are you going to close this year?
300 plus.
Success leaves clues. And when did your team start?
Just in 2016. Yeah.
Okay, so 3 years in, this is year 3, and they're going to close 300 units this year. And he just said they do not sacrifice anything before 11:30. That's lead gen time. Success leaves clues. Our team's the same way. I come from the Haro Group. That's where I started. And same thing. Everybody knows. Our closing attorneys, everybody knows. Vendors, clients, everybody knows that our office hours are after lunchtime, because in the morning we're looking for buyers and sellers. So really great. I'm glad you brought that up. I love how Rebecca said, I tell my agents I'm calling them an expert, so they better be an expert by the time they meet with the client. That's awesome. I do want to add in, though, it's kind of funny laughing about that, but you can do a huge favor if you are an ISA setting for an agent. Build up the agent. Things like, oh man, you are going to love working with Ryan. He is absolutely fantastic. Say things that are true. Pay attention. If you heard that Ryan just won a multiple offer against 3 people yesterday, talk about that. Build up the agent. I remember one time I did this for Annalisa, and she ended up being out sick. She had never taken a listing. She was brand new. I called the client to say, Annalisa is not going to be there today. I just wanted you to have a heads up. You're going to meet with Haro of the Haro Group because Annalisa is out sick. And the client was like, but we wanted to meet with Annalisa. And it was hilarious. Annalisa had no track record whatsoever at this point, but because she was built up so much in that appointment, they were already sold. And that's our job. Our job is to sell the agent that we're sending out on that appointment. So that's huge in getting them to stick and also getting them to sign. Okay, a lot of people are asking, what's this 48-hour window thing? Or do you mean that you set it within 48? So just redefine that. When we're talking about 48 hours, what does that mean?
Yeah, so we want to set the appointment to where they are coming into the office within the next 48 hours
yes.
because of higher conversion rate. However, you know, not every time is that going to happen. You know, maybe Monday, and if they ask for a Thursday, I don't want you to be like, oh, I can't book the appointment. Sorry, let me call you tomorrow for some reason. But you want to have systems in place to where you're making sure that this isn't the last time you're going to hear from me before you come into the office. And so I'll set that expectation right before you're ending the call. Hey, this isn't going to be the last time you hear from me. You know, I'm going to be sending you a confirmation email right when we get off the phone, a calendar invite from the agent. I'm going to be sending you a follow-up text. What I'm also going to do is have the agent that you're meeting with on Thursday reach out to you within the next 24 hours. I'm going to go ahead and call you the day before just to see if you have any questions and make sure you're receiving those properties that I'm sending you between now and then. How does that sound? And, you know, great. Yeah. And then what we do is we have an automated text the morning of. So we call them the day before, the morning of, just to send them the address again. You know, see you soon. And what we've added in is a beverage. So this kind of also makes it a little stickier is, hey, you know, whenever you come into our office, we provide a complimentary beverage. Would you like coffee, a water, or soda?
I
And
want
so,
to come.
awesome. You know, so just taking a little bit a next step of a customer service, right? Ultimately, we're in the business for customer service, so just a little something that we threw in.
Well, and I have to imagine that, and I didn't even know that you guys did that. That's awesome. I have to imagine that that's part of how you're getting to the 300 this year, because that would produce that wow level customer service, which would feed referrals. But also, I know if someone called me and said, we have an appointment tomorrow, I'm going to have a drink ready for you. What's your beverage of choice? I'm going to feel extra bad not showing up. Like that's pretty awesome. And I have to imagine that that helps your show ratio for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And even Mariana, you know how, for those who don't know Mariana and Zach, they love Starbucks. So sometimes they'll even ask for a Starbucks drink. You know, who doesn't love Starbucks? So,
Yeah.
you know, it's awesome.
I love Starbucks. No, I'm just joking. I've had Starbucks with them. We like some Starbucks.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have some questions of, so what happens if they don't show up? Everything seemed right, and now they didn't show up. What is the follow-up plan? Who does it?
Yeah, great question. So we definitely want to make sure that we have a system in place for that. So the ISA will definitely, you know, keep following up until that appointment is ready to reschedule. It's not the agent's job and on our team to follow up and reschedule.
Yeah.
We definitely want to make sure that our ISAs know, you know, the agent lets them know, hey, you know, they did not show up.
Yeah.
And so, you know, ISAs, since they've built that rapport, you know, they have talked to them the most, they're going to be following up and rescheduling that appointment.
Yep. And this is how I look at it. And this is part of why it makes sense for the ISA to follow up, is the whole job, the whole role of an inside sales agent is to get the appointment to show. So anything up until the appointment shows is 100% our responsibility. If they canceled, if they no-showed, that really falls back on us, right? And so the other thing is, part of why ISAs exist are agents are working with clients in the afternoons. And so the follow-up it may take to get that lead reset, it makes sense to keep that with the ISA who has the time and bandwidth to do that follow-up.
Yes.
I do want to encourage you guys out there, if you've had no-shows, it doesn't mean that they're off the table. In fact, one of your best lead sources, if you're thinking, I've got to find 2 more listings today and I've got 2 hours to do it, one of your best lead sources can be your no-show list from the past 2 months. They already said yes to meeting with you. Now, yeah, they canceled, yet they got all the way through pre-qual. They verbally agreed to meet with you. They're closer than a brand new lead. So don't give up on those no-showers, but definitely make sure you follow up. And what that call would sound like is reminding them of their motivation. It's always about them and what they want, always. It's not about us and our calendar. And I found one of the best ways to start that, because it doesn't sound like, why didn't you show up for the appointment, is to call and say, hey, Ryan, it's Anna calling from the Haro Group. You know, I'm really concerned. I know that we had an appointment today to talk about downsizing so you can buy an RV and travel. I know that was really important to you. I'm just really concerned that we didn't connect today. Call me back and let me know what's going on. That gets a call back. They'll usually call back on that. Ryan, what do you usually say on that follow-up call?
Yeah, something similar. So you definitely want to make sure that you're reiterating the motivation.
Yeah.
And I do want to point out, if you're on a team, you know, you have a team of ISAs, you know, you definitely want to make sure that the culture, you know, around the team is awesome to where, hey, you know, if the ISA doesn't get the call back, they're not just trashing that lead. You know, they're maybe passing it to another ISA, you know, for them to maybe get that win, you know, because at some point, you know, you definitely want to make sure that it's a win for the team. So we use Trello. For those of y'all that don't know, definitely Google that. So what we do is we'll take it from the appointment set block if they are no-show to rescheduling or appointments lost. And so we always have ISAs checking that to make sure, hey, you know, what's the deal with this person? Have they been followed up with? If they haven't, you know, they're definitely reaching out, they're claiming it, you know, and all of our ISAs know, hey, we want to make sure that, you know, we're all buying into that team goal of, you know, how many units we need to close. And so if for some reason they're not answering your call, doesn't mean they can't answer your other agent's call.
Yeah. And it actually can be a good tactic as well. So Ryan, say that you and I were on the same team, both ISAs. Sometimes it can even be a good tactic for me to call your appointment that no-showed and say, hey, this is Anna, I'm Ryan's assistant. Just because it's like, ooh, Ryan has an assistant. That's kind of a big deal. And funny enough, sometimes they respond really well to that and they get re-engaged. But it's really always all about their motivation and reminding them of what that is to keep them engaged.
For sure.
Rebecca says, when do you send the follow-up text?
So we actually don't, that's not our first step, is to send a follow-up text. We definitely want to call. So we call and try and get in contact. And so basically, if it's a no-show, at that point we've sent, we've called already. So what we'll do is call, basically about an hour to 2 hours after the no-show, sharing concern, revisiting that motivation. They don't answer. We'll leave them a voicemail and we'll put them back into our calling list to where, hey, we're going to make sure that we call them the next day just to see how they're doing. So it's not like, all right, trash, they ghosted me, never going to call them again. It's, hey, back onto the calling list. They don't answer for the rest of the week. We're going to transfer them out to a different agent.
Okay, got it. That's a good system. I think what I'm hearing as you're talking, Ryan, and I already know this, I just want to make sure people out there are catching it, is strong communication between the agents and the ISAs, right?
Yes.
Building up the agents and setting the appointment. It's that camaraderie and making sure that everybody, honestly, you're getting it, that we're all in this together. You set appointments for the agents, they're going to hit their goals. They close out your appointments you set for them, you achieve your goals. And it's that synergy and then keeping the client at the center of all of that. Okay, we have somebody say, we love the Trello tracking idea.
Yeah, it's definitely something I'd love to share. I don't know if my email will be on here, but, the Gilbert Group, if you want to, email me, and I'd love to share, our ideas that we do.
Yeah.
How we use Trello for sure.
Yeah, I know a couple teams do it. And here's what I want to leave with you guys, because we're almost out of time. So much of this is customized and there's no one right answer. I've heard people from fantastic teams even share from stage before, just because I do it this way doesn't mean you need to do it this way. So as you've heard some of these tools that we've shared today, a lot of this comes from the customization that comes through coaching. This is what works for their team. And obviously it's working really, really well. I see some questions we don't have time to get to today. And as I read the questions, it's like, gosh, that could be a 20-minute conversation, just learning your team systems to provide what the right answer would be for your team. Right. So Hannah, if you again could just put up real quick how to learn more about ISA coaching, because that's where a lot of this comes from. It's customizing it to your team through learning your business. So my email is mapscoachanna@gmail.com. Ryan, can you type in the chat box what your email is? And then I think that will go out. Okay. And I'll put mine as well. If you're interested in the coaching program, or maybe you say, I'm not sure that I'm quite ready for the program, but I would love to ask some questions or talk to a coach, you can go to isamapscoaching.com. I'll put that also in the chat box, isamapscoaching.com. And there's a button that says, and I'm ready to enroll, or I'd like to talk to a coach. And you get a coach. It's not someone else somewhere. You get me, you get Katie, Annalisa, one of us, and we'll hop on the phone with you to see how we can help you.
Yeah, and I do want to mention, I do have a follow-up plan that we utilize. I'd love to share that out. 7 steps of what we do, that 48-hour rule. What happens if you book it in 24 hours? What does that look like? If you book it further than 48 hours, what do you do? I have all those systems that we use and what we follow by. So definitely, send me any questions you have to that email. It's ryan@castillo-group.com.
Perfect.
I'll answer those questions.
Okay, perfect. And then is there anything else? In fact, if there's been so many questions, if you have a question that has not yet been answered, go ahead and retype it. We've got about 4 minutes left, and that'll put us back up here, put it back on the radar. What do you call the appointment notification when you send the Google Calendar invite? I'm not sure what you mean by that question. I know at the Haro Group, we would just put in the name, so the agent would have, appointment, but if there was no name, that meant that it was open. And so we would just put their name in there, send it to the client, and they would see it. What do you do? What do you call that on your team, Ryan?
Is this question for a calendar invite or email? So either way, we go your listing consultation with the Castillo Group. That's what it's titled, for our calendar invite and for our confirmation email, whether it's a buyer or a seller. So it's your buyer consultation with the Castillo Group. that's what they see, and then it's all the information. Is that the right question?
I'm not real sure. Jennifer, if we didn't answer your question, maybe retype it. I think we're not 100% sure, but we want to make sure we're taking care of you.
Yeah, for sure.
Perfect. So we have some people asking about ISA compensation, which we definitely want to help you with. We just don't have time. So our moderator is going to post the download for how to hire an ISA for compensation. Hi, Mariana. That's the team owner right there. And so look for that download from Hannah. So if you have a question specifically about Ryan's follow-up plan, you can shoot him an email. Anything else regarding compensation, some of these questions that have come in that we didn't get to today, you can go to that isamapscoaching.com. We do have some downloads on there under webinar tab. We have tons of webinars on there. This one will be posted on there within 24 hours. So I would recommend go to isamapscoaching.com, click on the webinar tab, and look for your topic, because a lot of these questions that are coming in here, we've already covered. And you can, because we don't have time today, just go catch one of those old webinar recordings and you'll be all set. Do your coaching systems include anything for independent brokers? I'd want to know more about what you're looking for coaching on, but yeah, yes. So go ahead. If it relates to real estate business, we can help you through MAPS coaching, whether our program, ISA MAPS coaching, or maybe one-on-one coaching through MAPS. So just shoot us a message through isamapscoaching.com and we'll get to you.
Kat asked how many appointments I book a month. On average, it's around 30.
Yeah. You had a huge week not that long ago. What was your highest week?
Yeah, so I had 27 appointments held in 1 month. So that was really good.
And you said 12 in 1 week, right? If I'm remembering that right?
Yeah, it was a great week. Yes.
Yeah.
Busy week for sure.
Yeah.
That goes with the 48-hour rule. You know, you're definitely, creating urgency with buyers and knowing what to say. It's going to come.
Yeah. All right. Let's end with this question. If the appointment schedules within the 24 to 48-hour window, do you still call again to confirm before the agent goes or no?
So I have my table. So the day of the booking, we're sending confirmation email, calendar invite. We're sending a follow-up text. That's the ISA. And it's courtesy reminder text, courtesy reminder. Not
confirmation.
Yeah, right. Not a confirmation at least 3 hours before the appointment. And that's a standard one that we send out.
At least 3 hours.
Yeah,
awesome.
And it's like, hey, if they respond, they're most likely going to show up, a lot more stickiness for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm so glad you said that. It's not confirmation, because I don't know about you guys, but when I buy a plane ticket, until I see the confirmation, I feel like, did it really go through? So you could be actually decreasing your show rate even just by saying, hey, I'm calling to confirm the appointment, because that sounds like it's not legit quite yet and they can still get out of it. And it's really not doing them a favor. Remember, we're meeting them about their goals. I don't want someone holding me accountable for my goals to give me any room to get out of it. So it's a reminder, not a confirmation. Perfect. All right, guys. We really enjoyed hanging out with you today. We'll be doing this again in 2 weeks on another topic. Ryan, you were awesome. I'm so glad you joined us today.
Well, and thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. Remember to email me with any other questions for sure.
Perfect. All right, guys, you have a great day. We'll see you again soon.
Bye.